Hello, my friends. Today we are starting with this. Trump has confirmed an upcoming meeting with Zelensky.
Do you think you'll meet with Zelensky when you're there?
Yeah, probably. I'll see him. Yeah.
What would you say to him?
Say, how you doing? Uh, tough. He's in a tough situation. Should have never been there. I'd like to see a deal with Russia. As you know, Vladimir called me up. He said, "Can I help?"
Friends, what do you think? Can Trump actually stop Putin? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, the head of the office of the president, Andriy Yermak, made a statement regarding the talks between Zelensky and Trump, which are expected to take place today.
Everyone can see that Russia doesn't want to end the war. We've all seen the talks, like those in Turkey, that were just for show. That's why we need extra pressure, harsh sanctions. Until Russia starts feeling the real cost, a very high cost, for all the crimes it's committing every day, I don't think anything will force it to engage in real, honest negotiations. Everyone is really looking forward to tomorrow's meeting with President Trump. The agenda is clear. We've seen that peace through strength works. We saw it in how the US dealt with Iran. And it's no coincidence, Iran is Russia's partner. They're very similar. So I believe that peace through strength and strong bilateral relations will be the main focus.
And there is hope that, just like with Iran, the US can force Russia to come to the negotiation table. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to strike targets in Russia to weaken its military capabilities. Overnight, reports came in about new strikes in Taganrog. Oh, excuse me. So, an explosion was heard there at the Atlant Aero plant in Taganrog. A fire broke out on the premises. The plant is reportedly involved in the production of drones and related equipment. And after another round of attacks on Ukraine, Zelensky addressed Putin directly.
I want to say this very clearly to Putin. There is a rule: do not kill. That rule means don't act like an animal toward people. There's a rule: do not burn cities and villages. There's a rule: don't justify or sponsor terror. There's a rule: do not steal, don't abduct children. And if you break these rules, there must be accountability. Maybe it's difficult for Russia, but complete isolation is necessary. That means political isolation, sanctions of every kind, and cutting off all cooperation that helps them survive and continue the war. Any scheme that sustains this war must be stopped. And I urge you to be strong and principled when it comes to sanctions against Russia. We need the 18th sanctions package. We need real, painful sanctions on Russian oil. There are many ongoing discussions about different versions of price caps on Russian oil. But what matters is whether it actually works. We have to remember, any drop in Russia's oil revenue brings us closer to peace.
Friends, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's turn to the situation along the front line, starting with the Pokrovsk direction, where the situation remains the most difficult. The Russians are trying to advance along the flanks and have thrown in the maximum number of reserves for the offensive. Reports indicate ongoing attempts to break through toward Volodymyrivka and Novotorets. They are also storming Koptive and Popivyar, shelling Razine, and launching attacks near Malinivka and Mirolyubivka. They are also storming the village of Promень, the outskirts of Mirnograd, Lysivka, and Chunishine. Fighting continues in Udachne, and Russian forces are trying to break through the fields toward Molodetske and storming Novosergiyevka. In total, this area has seen the highest activity, more than 50 assaults over the past day. However, so far, Russian forces haven't managed to secure any new positions, as Ukrainian forces are repelling all attacks. Geolocation maps also show active use of FPV drones in the area, suggesting that Russia is trying to weaken this specific section of the front in hopes of advancing further. For now, they are not moving toward the city of Rodinsk, but it's highly likely that they'll first try to stretch the front line toward Shahova and only then pivot westward to encircle Pokrovsk. At this point, no one knows Russia's exact plans, but overnight, Ukrainian defenders reported that some localized Russian gains are starting to emerge. The Russians advanced south of Myrne and entered a tree line that leads to Mykolaiivka and the area near Novoekonomichne. There was also movement north of Koptive. The Russians are trying to reach Novoturetsky and move along the ravine toward Volodymyrivka. In the Novopavlivka direction, attacks continue, but Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling them with no changes in territorial control. Russia is still attempting to fully capture Oleksiivka and push toward Voskresenka, but there were no changes over the past day, and activity here remains lower than in other directions. As for the villages of Perebudova and Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine hasn't confirmed any Russian capture of those settlements. In the direction of Velyka Novosilka, no new assaults have been recorded and the situation remains stable for now. The village of Shevchenko is still under the control of Ukrainian forces, and despite a week of attacks, the Russians haven't managed to fully capture it. In the Hulaypole direction, the Russians are carrying out shelling, but no new attacks have been reported and the front line remains unchanged. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, activity have also decreased for now. The Russians continue shelling but are not conducting offensive operations, so the situation remains stable. In the Kherson direction, attacks are still taking place near the Antonivsky bridge, but Russia has seen no success and the situation hasn't changed over the past 24 hours. Now let's move to the Kostyantynivka direction. Activity here is also very high. Nearly 40 assaults were recorded over the past day. The Russians continue storming Chasiv Yar, but still haven't managed to fully capture the city. Fighting is also ongoing near Stupochki. Yesterday, Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed full control over Delivka and released a video showing their flag in the village. However, Ukraine's general staff hasn't confirmed this information. Battles are also ongoing in Sherbinivka, Alexandro Kalinova, Yablonivka, and Rusin Yar. So fighting continues along nearly the entire front line with intense use of FPV drones. However, the Ukrainian forces are holding their defense and haven't retreated. The front line hasn't changed over the past day. The only uncertainty remains around Delivka. In the Kramatorsk direction, activity has slightly increased. The Russians are assaulting Novomarkove and Privilla and attempting a breakthrough near the village of Bondarne. But there have been no changes over the past 24 hours, and Ukrainian forces are managing to repel all attacks. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces are attempting to advance beyond Grigorivka. However, they are not making any progress, and the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Lyman direction, activity remains high as before. The Russians are storming the village of Kolodezi, pushing toward Kharkivka and near Glushenkova, and assaulting Novy Mir and Olhivka. So far, Ukrainian forces are holding the line, and there have been no new Russian advances. In the Borova direction, Russian forces are assaulting Bohuslavka, but aside from that, activity remains low and the front line hasn't changed over the past day. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian troops are attacking Redkivka and Petropavlivka and attempting to break through near Pishane. Russian sources have claimed they captured Redkivka and advanced into Holubivka, but there is no video confirmation of this yet. The Ukrainian side hasn't commented on the situation either, so for now, we'll wait to see how events unfold. In the Dvorichne direction, Russian forces are pushing toward Dovhenke near Figolivka and Krasnopershe. However, despite high activity, no changes to the front line have been recorded in this area so far. In the Kharkiv direction, Russian troops are assaulting Gleboke. They're trying to fully capture the village to move along the water barrier toward the northern part of the settlement of Liptsi. But Ukrainian forces are holding the line confidently, and as before, no changes have occurred. In Vovchansk, no new attacks have been reported, although Russian forces are attempting to break through toward the Vovchansky Hutory area, again with no changes over the past day. In the Sumy direction, Russian forces have slightly reduced their activity, currently conducting around 10 assaults per day and have made no new gains. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are launching counterattacks, trying to push the front line back. However, despite claims of Ukrainian success near Kindrativka, the front line remains unchanged for now. We are waiting for official confirmation. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov continues to claim that Ukraine is constantly asking for a ceasefire.
They demand, ask, beg for an immediate ceasefire with no preconditions. This is exactly what Zelensky firmly refused just a couple of years ago, when he was still living and working under the slogan of strategic defeat for Russia.
All in all, nothing has changed. And Zelensky has confirmed that he intends to remain president until the end of the war.
Say you're going to carry on. You still think you're the best man to take Ukraine through this?
Найдосвідченіше.
I'm the most experienced one.
Може, і не
Maybe not the
найкраще.
best one.
Friends, what do you think about this? Especially since Russia is loudly demanding a change of president to someone more compliant who would give up 4 regions to end the war. Meanwhile, the situation between Iran and Israel remains unclear. Iran has declared a victory for itself and has been holding rallies to celebrate this supposed win over Israel, though everyone knows there is no real victory. At the same time, Iran has announced that they will not give up their nuclear technology. Netanyahu, on his part, said that if Iran tries to revive its nuclear program, Israel will strike again. It seems this means that even if the peace is reached now, war is inevitable sooner or later because Iran insists it will continue its nuclear development. Overall, friends, let's see how the situation develops further. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.